Hey guys, welcome to The Forge, our brand new channel name. So we're starting with all this new stuff, but this is a 10th edition game at 2,000 points, and so we have Imperial Knights versus Genestealer Cults. This is a revenge match from a couple of weeks ago when we rage quit because we're having so many technical issues. So same armies, different lists, and so let's go ahead and check them out and see what's going on.
And like the video if you like the video, share if you want to share it, comment if you want to comment, and more to come. I am bringing Genestealer Cults again. This is one of my favorite armies from 9th, and this is my revenge match in 10th. So essentially what's going to happen here is I'm bringing a Patriarch as my Warlord. Unfortunately, I finally realized why people don't take him in tournaments is because he cannot take a Warlord trait because he's an epic hero. I'm bringing 2 Nexuses, I'm bringing 2 Biophaguses, I'm bringing 2 Acolyte Icon Awards, a Primus, and Abominant. And so the Nexuses, each of them have a Warlord trait. One has Inscrutable Cunning, which is the one that allows me to give him a squad infiltrators, and every time I use a CP on them, I gain a CP on a 4-up. And then the other one has Meticulous Planner, which is the one where I screw over my opponent by making him pay 1 more CP for a stratagem he uses. Then, as far as troops, I have 2 bricks of Neophytes, 20 man, Icon, leader has power weapons. All the leaders have their power weapons and stuff. They each have 4 Webbers, 4 seismic cannons. And then I have several units of Acolytes. So, yeah, I have 1 10-man of Neophytes. This is for holding the back objective. Icon, Weber, 2 grenade launchers, and 2 heavy lasers. Because they're going to be in the back, I gave them long-range weapons. I have a squad of 5 Neophyte hybrids with an Acolyte leader, 2 heavy mining tools, and 2 hand flamers. So squad of 5 right there. Then I have this squad of 10. Now this actually I'm somewhat copying from the tournament meta because I'll never be able to buy and paint a Genestealer Cult army in time for the meta to change. So I do want to try this. Basically 4 demolition charges. Everyone else has hand flamers and Acolyte Icon. Then I have a squad of Pure Strain Genestealers, which now have 2 wounds. Then I have a unit of hybrid Metamorphs. All have hand flamers. The Metamorph leader has his special weapons and Icon right there. And then I have a squad of 5 Aberrants. And I have a Goliath Truck and a Goliath Rock Grinder. And that is 1,995 points of Genestealer Cults.
Alright, you guys, so I have a real simple list this time. Last time I took a bunch of Armigers, and this time I was like, you know what, let me see how many big boys I can take and fit in. They're a little bit cheaper this time around, so it looks like I can actually fit in a couple of them. So let me kind of walk you through the basic idea, because, well, I mean, it's relatively straightforward. My Warlord is the big shooty, the Castellan. He also has the banner of Macarius Triumphant. He doesn't have any abilities, but he's just a big shooty, so he's going to do that. I have a Knight Preceptor. He's no longer like a chaplain kind of knight guy. He just has an ability that buffs objective control. He also has the, let me find it, Mysterious Guardian. So he can deep strike, and once per game, he can re-deep strike. So he'll be kind of sneaky, poke out of nowhere, and do stuff, hopefully. Then I have the Warden, who has the Revered Knight aura, which is basically a +1 leadership aura. I don't know how relevant that'll be, but who knows. He has a lot of shots, and he can punch stuff really hard because he has the fist and not the sword. Then obviously the Gallant is last. He punches stuff really well because he has a fist and a sword. And so I figured I'd try big boys this time and just sit on an objective and kill everything. So who knows? We'll see what happens, but that's the idea. They all have an ability that lends themselves to something, but yeah, thought I would try it out. I've done it once before and it didn't go very well. I thought maybe it would be better in 10th. We'll see.
All right, we have determined our mission. First, we have Crucible of Battle. Pretty straightforward. Then we have Targets of Opportunity, which took a few reads to figure out. Basically, we have 3 tactical or 2 fixed and a tactical that works like a tactical, so that's interesting. Then we have Supply Drop, which took some reading to get. We already determined it. Essentially, there's an Alpha objective and an Omega objective, and we get 5 victory points for each marker we control in No Man's Land. Our home objectives have no value unless we get a tactical for it. At the end of the command phase, in the 4th battle round, whoever's turn it is controls 8 victory points for each objective marker they control in No Man's Land. And at the end of the battle, there's only going to be one objective left, which is going to be the Omega. And yeah, and that's the mission. So, for Secondaries, for Gene Stealer Cults, Assassination, all 4 of his guys are vehicles. I'm going to try to kill him. And Bring It Down, which seems obvious. And because of the mission rule, I am getting a tactical, so that's going to be interesting, and I'll see how that is. But yeah, and my opponent has chosen tactical, so good luck with that one. And that is...
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and yeah. For deployment, my opponent went first with the Knights. He plopped his down. So, essentially, as far as how I saw the battle, the main goal is to focus on the bottom 2 objectives, Alpha and Omega. Alpha is red, Omega is blue. And so that's really where the battle is, so everything's going to congeal over to there. So I placed off my infiltrators first because of the inscrutable cunning gives his squad infiltration, so I already took the objective, placed a body on it. A lot of my guys are in cover. Even though he can see me, the benefits of cover are still really worth it. Apart from that, I place my other brick to take the center, and then apart from that, it was just me carefully placing things out. I forgot there was one other unit I had in that was deep striking. That was the yellow squad. I forgot about them because getting overwhelmed. But apart from that, then my Primus and his guy is in the bottom orange truck. The aberrants are on the top, and essentially I think the battlefield is going to flow to the bottom, and he has one in reserve. And so basically I was just because I can't hide, there's no point in trying to hide. I can gain the benefits of cover, but he can still shoot at me. So in my mind, I just have to be super aggressive, and that's pretty much it. And yeah, and that was my plan.
Yeah, so for me, actually looking now, I kind of already regret some of my setup, even though there's almost no setup. So my Castellan has the banner of Macarius Triumphant, so basically he has sticky objectives. But of course the home objective doesn't actually matter for literally anything, so anyway, it's not important. But anyway, so basically I just kind of spaced out my 3 guys starting on the field, and obviously my Preceptor is in reserves because he can deep strike because he does what he wants. And so I kind of just spaced them out. The Warden I put near the Omega objective because he's kind of balanced with shooting and damage, like melee damage. And then the Gallant I kind of put on the, I guess it's the top for you guys because he can just kind of sweep around and do things. But honestly, I don't know how all that's going to go down. But yeah, so there was almost no thought into my setup. Having thought about it now, what I might have done is actually have both of my smaller guys on one side, so that way they could more easily sweep around. But it's too late now, so we'll see what happens.
Who goes first? Who goes second? I believe I really need to go first to get as every advantage I possibly can to get positioning, to get first strikes in, first scratches in, really. Have the best chance of getting my first tactical in, despite me being fixed. So I really need the first turn against you guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I also would like the first turn. I'm not worried so much about the damage. I mean, I don't really know what you have. I don't think you could kill a knight in a single turn just from shooting.
I am immortal.
I could be wrong.
Keep trying to kill me.
Yeah, I don't know how much damage I could do either, but I need probably more chances to do that than probably you do, just because you have more numbers of shots, and so numbers usually tend, because I don't do saves very well, so a lot of rolls I don't do very well, but saves is one of them, and so I think just the chip damage is going to be the biggest threat here. So if I go first, I can start to whittle down some of that chip damage, I think, and that's the idea. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
So yeah. So I think I want to go first, but going second I don't think would be like super damaging either, but I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. All right. Ready, and let's go.
All right.
God. I use a CP reroll.
Yeah, okay.
Dang it. Whatever. All right. Knights turn 1. So basically, my pre-game, my hybrid metamorphs have scout 6 inches, and their truck has scout. I probably should have put it in a better position, but yeah, it's there.
Alright, you guys. So starting off, my 3 tactical objectives are engage in all fronts, overwhelming force, and area denial. So the only one I had a chance at is area denial, but I'm not going to go for it because he has too many things alive, and it's not worth it. Something would have to run, and that means it can't shoot, and then it's all bad. So I'm basically going to get no secondary points this battle round, and hopefully that won't be the worst. But anyway, moving into the movement phase, my Gallant moved on to the top objective. My Castellan moved off my home objective, kind of snuggling up behind the Gallant, and the Warden actually stepped to the. He went up away from the Omega objective.
Why are you running?
Giving him more room to respond to things, and that was my movement phase. All right, you guys. So, essentially, for the shooting phase, a little bit happened. So the Gallant only had his Storm Spear rocket pod. He shot it at the truck sitting next to him, the Goliath Rock Grinder, and he failed. He did nothing. But then the Knight Castellan shot. He had his Volcano Lance. Volcano Lance melted the Rock Grinder with one wound because it's D6 plus 8. So he just, he volcanoed.
They got rid of my damage reduction 1. If they still had that, he'd be alive.
I could use a command point to reroll the damage roll, but
it would have been worth a CP.
Yeah. But so then the rest of his shots, he shot at the green squad. He actually only killed, 7 of them. He had some pretty good saves and feel no pain rolls for the green squad. So he only killed 7 there, despite all his mass explosive shots. And then the Warden shot at the blue squad. Now he actually killed 10 of them with his shooting. That Avenger Gatling cannon is it's impressive. And none of his other guns were in range, but whatever. Anyway, but so that was the shooting phase, pretty successful. I mean, essentially that was the turn, but yeah. Right, you guys. So for points, I got none. Oh. So there we go. I could have moved into the middle of the map, and I could have probably I could have gotten that, but then that would have put one of my knights in the middle of all of his damage, which is a bad idea. And then overwhelming force, I probably could have got. Actually, I don't know if I might have gotten that because I destroyed a rock grinder. Actually,
I was not on an objective.
Oh yeah, it has to sit on an objective. Yeah, so I could have turned all my focus on the blue squad, but I really need to whittle down his units and start taking out some of those mass shots. And then engage in all fronts. Honestly, I was so close. If I had left the Warden in the other zone, and if the Gallant was actually half an inch farther up, I could have gotten that, but I didn't, so I have no points.
Alright, for the movement phase, Green Squad ran towards the center, got a 6 for a run, and made it there. Then Goliath Truck ran as well, trying to get closer. My blue Neophytes, I decided to keep them where they are because they got cover. They have a lot of other good things. Actually, let me reorganize this a bit. And they already have the objective. The Pure Strain Gene Stealers ran forward, got a 6, moved 14. There's no point in trying to hide. The Aberrants moved forward towards the Knight Gallant. And the Neophytes in the back are just sitting. Now, because I had 2 objectives at the start of my command phase, each of my Neophyte hybrids gets to roll a dice, and on a 4-up I gain a CP. And so I get, you can only gain 1 CP maximum, so basically I had 2 dice. I rolled them, got 2 6s, so I did get 1 extra CP, so that brought me up to 3. Then, So yeah, and that's it. And then at the very end of my, at the reinforcement step of the movement phase, I get to use the Colt Icon, which I get a D3 unit. Well, actually, so I get 3 units back for my Neophyte Hybrids, but if I'm on objective, I get D3 plus 3. So for the Neophyte Hybrid squad, the green one, I got 4. I got 5 for the blue squad, and that was my movement phase. I really had no one who could shoot. So essentially what happened was I had 4 seismic cannons that fired at the Night Warden, a bunch of shots. Since I technically didn't move the squad, I just had guys come back. I hit on 4s, and I needed 6s to wound. 2 went through, and then he saved them. And that was my shooting phase. So for the charge phase, essentially what happens is I charge with my Aberrants into his Knight Gallant. They need an 8 to get within 1 inch. They fail. So I re-roll it, and I make it on a 10. And then my opponent overwatches, but not with the guy I'm targeting. So according to Overwatch, it's basically any, if you're within 24 inches, so he overwatches with his Knight Castellan, the big blue guy, to shoot in his stead. And she looked at the rules like, yeah, I guess that can work. And so he overwatched. And then he proceeded to miss every single shot, so I was good. And then I activated my Nexus's Meticulous Planner ability, and now from this point on, every time he uses Overwatch, it costs 2 CP from this point on. And yeah, and that was the charge phase. Right, so for the fight phase, essentially what happened is my Aberrants swung, and they did 9 wounds total to him, but he had a feel no pain, that's brought it down to 8. Then my Abominant swung and whiffed every shot. That was pathetic. And then my opponent swung and didn't have the same problem. He used a sweep attack and he did 14 wounds to me. And thanks to my feel no pains, I only lost 2 guys. But still, that was still painful. And that was the fight phase. Alright, so for my first turn, I forgot I do get a 3rd secondary, even though I'm fixed because of the targets of opportunity tactical, but it's capture enemy outpost, which is capture his home objective. I think I'll keep that. I haven't killed anyone, so I haven't gained any points, and I'm in a good position to gain primary. I didn't play any of my tricks in the first battle round when he was blowing me off the board, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I think I can deal with this. All right.
All right, you guys. So my movement phase, my Gallant stayed in combat because he's savage. Then my Castellan moved basically literally right up to him because I'm hoping to kill off this squad, this combat phase, or this turn, and then they can move on and the Castellan can move on to that, so we'll see what happens. But and then my Warden also scooted back towards my home objective, again just trying to keep distance between the big uglies and him so he can shoot to do more. I don't know if this dance of movement is going to be good, but I know before, whenever I rush in, it usually doesn't end well for me. Even long term, even if I kill everything, long term I usually end up losing with Knights. So I'm going to try it this way and see what happens. But then at the end of the movement phase, my Knight Preceptor came in 9 inches away from his green squad and in between his pink and the Abominants. He can also re-deep strike once more in this game, so he can basically just dip out at the end of his turn and then show up in my movement phase, I believe is what it says. But yeah, so we'll see what he can do here. And that was the movement phase. Alright, you guys, so for shooting, I started off with the Gallant. Now he shot at obviously the Aberrants in front of him. I think so 1 went through, which is the melted gun, and it killed the guy with 1 wound. And then he shot the Storm Spear rocket pod, and it did nothing. I think it missed, or he saved it, something like that.
Yeah, I saved it.
Then the Castellan shot, and he shot with his Volcano Lance at his Goliath truck, and then he shot everything else at the green squad in the middle. The Volcano Lance rolled a D3 for the shots, all 3. I got a 6, so it was 3 shots, all hit, all wounded. I ended up doing like 37 damage to that Goliath truck, so he was very dead. No one inside died though getting out, so that's something. And then he killed the majority of the squad. No, he killed like 6 to 8 guys, I think, from the green squad. And then my Knight Preceptor shot at the green squad as well. He killed off another couple of guys with his Las Impulsor. Preceptor multi-laser didn't do much, but anyway, so he killed off a few, and then the Warden shot at. Originally, I was going to try and finish off the green squad with shooting, but I was like, the biggest damage I believe is the Patriarch and his Gene Stealers. So I turned the Warden on them with the Avenger Gatling cannon. But then that's when he used a stratagem one with the darkness. So you guys can tell us here. We did some digging, which is why this part might be a little longer. But essentially, he was saying that because it does stealth, but then it also you can't target outside of 12 inches. He was saying it didn't say anything about retargeting, so it basically would have absorbed his shots. We did some digging, and it does allow the retargeting, or so we think. So you guys let us know if you think it allows retarget or not. But so we did that, and the Gatling cannon killed off 7 of the Gene Stealers. And then that was the entirety of the shooting phase. Alright, you guys, the Preceptor tried to charge the green guys. He failed with a 4, so I used a command point to re-roll, and I got an 8, so he failed again. Now, I don't know if I've ever actually had a successful 9-inch charge, so no surprise, I guess, but it still hurt. But of course, that does mean that my Gallant can actually swing first here, and hopefully pop the Abominants. And that was the charge phase. Alright, you guys, so for the fight phase, according to the rules, apparently it's the other person that gets to swing first, unless there's always fights first, or like a charge, which is the equivalent. So he swung first with his Abominants, or his Aberrants with an Abominant, but they ended up not doing any damage. And then I swung back with the sweep on the Gallant's Thunderstrike Gauntlet, because the Gallant has just an excessive amount of attacks. And he was able to just barely clear the last 2 guys and the character. So that was pretty cool. And then he had a ability for the Aberrants and Abominant where they can come back on a certain dice roll. The Abominant, the character, did not come back because he rolled a 1, but the Aberrants did. In the corner you can see the little marker, or maybe not. But anyway, so that was the fight phase, so that gave me another points, and then he consolidated just a little further onto the objective, but closer to the green guys. And yeah, that was the fight phase. Alright, you guys, so for points, I wiped 2 units on an objective, so Overwhelming Force gave me up to 5 points there. Area Denial I still don't have, and I discarded Engage in All Fronts to gain a command point. And so per the mission rules, my next turn, I'll draw another tactical. But so as far as the primary mission rules go, I control 1 objective in No Man's Land, giving me 5 victory points. So I have a total of 10 points for this battle round, or for this turn. And so that was pretty good. I think, maybe not, I don't know. But anyway, so that was my points.
Alright, so for the movement phase, green squad moved to the center to the bottom part to gain some distance from the big guys. Blue squad did nothing. I mean, they're just chilling out, playing the objective. At the beginning of the turn, essentially, I had 3 squads that were on the objective, so I rolled 3 dice. And, oh wait, no, I forgot to do that. Shoot. Oh yeah, I gained a CP. Oh wait, no, I did do that. Never mind. So I gained a CP, bringing me up to 4, and what happened was, after that battle shock, Patriarch and his squad passed green squad. I spent a CP for them to automatically pass, and and so orange squad moved up, Patriarch and his squad ran. My opponent then overwatched. The Patriarch squad only managed to finish off the Gene Stealers. I rolled to see if they came back. They did not. So the Gene Stealers are now gone from the game. But the Patriarch is completely fine. And that was the end of my movement phase. So essentially what I did was my reserves came in. My squad of 5 Acolytes came in from behind the Night Ward on the top right. And I spent 1 CP to have my yellow Acolyte squad deep strike within 3 inches. And we'll see how this game goes. Shooting phase. So first up, the yellow squad with the explosives, fired 24 hits and like 2 wounds, which immediately rolled and failed and got 4 more damage. Then my hand flamer shot did nothing. Green squad in the middle fired at him with their seismic cannons, did nothing, didn't wound. Orange squad hybrid metamorphs fired their flamers into it, did 2 wounds. The purple squad on the top right fired their flamers in the Night Warden, did nothing. And that was the shooting phase. Alright, so for the charge phase. First, Patriarch charged. He needed a 5, got a 6. Then, Hybrid Metamorphs needed like a 5 or 4, got a 5. Or no, they got a 10, so they were able to pile and surround. Then the Purple Mining Squad on the back, the Acolytes, failed their 9-inch charge. I really need this thing dead, so I need to... Oh god, I screwed up. So I re-rolled the charge roll, and they failed. And that was the charge phase. Alright, so for the fight phase, I accidentally spent my CP on that re-roll to charge when I shouldn't have. So the Patriarch swung, did a few wounds. Then my Metamorph swung. I gave him the sweep attack, giving them 5 extra attacks. I probably shouldn't have done that, because the other attack has 3 attacks, but it gives them damage too. Lethal hits from the Biophagus really made the difference as their attacks went through, but they weren't able to kill it. The Primus wasn't able to do much, neither was the Biophagus, and I basically just barely scratched it. And that was the fight phase, and then he swung back, and he wiped out the squad entirely. And so each character is now on their own, but the squad survives. They were able to respawn back into the battlefield, and that is, well, I mean, they got the blip for them, and that was the fight phase. So the battle's not looking good, but I'm winning in points. I gained 10 for primary. My secondary, I had capture enemy outpost, and from the charge, the orange squad, my Primus is still standing on his objective, and he is not. And so I captured it. And yeah, I gained 8 victory points right there. Nice. And that is the turn.
Alright, you guys, so for movement, I started off with my Preceptor to move into the 9-inch bubble of his Aberrant, and then he used a once per game ability to basically move it somewhere else. And so he did that. Then my Knight Gallant basically moved around this squad of Acolyte Hybrids to kind of face off against the green squad in the middle. The Castellan moved on to the objective just to touch it because he has the sticky objectives, even though it's leaving next battle round, so it's not super relevant, but I figure why not? It also gives him clear sight lines. And then the Warden stayed in the thick of it because he is going to beat them all to death with his sword thing, even though Monolith has a glove. And that was the movement phase. Alright, you guys, so in the shooting phase, the Knight Preceptor took aim at his yellow squad that popped up, and I believe he actually killed the whole squad.
Yeah, they had no saves, so...
Yeah, so... I can't remember if he almost killed them and then someone else had to help, but I think he killed them all.
Yeah. Oh, also, we forgot about...
Okay.
We forgot about this, but so my Gene Stealer Cultist units come back at the end of his movement phase, so that's why I brought in the Aberrants and the Hybrid Metamorphs at this point, because I didn't want to deny him the targets to shoot because that's unfair. So while he did that, then he all of a sudden started shooting them. So continue.
Yeah. So he took out the yellow squad. They are battle line, which means they're automatically going to pop out and up somewhere, which is where that last little yellow thing with the icon is. That's the yellow squad. Then the Knight Gallant took aim at the green squad. He killed 2 guys because, you know, he's not a shooty, he's a puncher.
I also spent a CP to give him a stealth and it can't be shot at beyond 12 inches to help their survivability. That also happened. And I spent another CP to give them go to ground, so they all had a 6-up invuln and 4-up armor save from cover. 1 CP I didn't have to spend because the Nexus allows me to spend a free CP on them once per turn. Yeah, so continue.
Right. So then the Castellan took aim at the Aberrants. He killed 3 out of the 5, which is not super great, but really his only major damage is the Volcano Lance, which killed 2 guys, doing 11 and 12 damage respectively.
Yes, I could not roll enough Feel No Pains for that.
No, he did not. And then the Plasma Decimator killed off the last guy. The Siegebreaker cannons didn't, so there's one guy with a single wound left. I could have shot a Shieldbreaker missile, but I thought that was not worth it here. Although, thinking about it now, I don't really know what else I would shoot it at, except maybe the Patriarch, but I think he's going to die this turn anyway, so whatever. Anyway, so he took that Aberrant Squad to 2. And then the Knight Warden split his fire amongst the 3 targets. So his Flamer was on the Biophagus, his Melt-A-Gun and Storm Spear Rocket Pod was on his other character, the Primus, and then his Avenger Gatling Cannon was on the Patriarch. He killed the first 2. On the Primus, he had to reroll the damage roll on the Storm Spear Rocket Pod, because I rolled double ones. But then he did enough to kill him. And then on the Patriarch, only 2 wounds actually went through. So out of all 18 shots, only 2 went through, which was unfortunate. 2 damage, sorry. 3 wounds technically went through, but he saved 2 of them. Because he has a 4-up...
Invuln.
Invuln, yeah. So I'm going to have to punch him to death. But, you know, it is what it is. And then that was the shooting phase. You guys. So the Gallant charged into the Neophytes. He got in with a 9, so he's right on in there. They overwatched and they did 5 damage, 5 mortal wounds to him. So he is now in the 1 to 7 wound range. He's got 5 wounds left, but he got in, and hopefully he will beat them all to death in this one turn. Guys, so fight phase went relatively well for me. The Knight Gallant charged in, and he actually wiped the entire middle squad, including both of its characters, with his chain sweep, because the Knight Gallant just has so many attacks. He has 18 attacks with that chain sweep. And then, so anyway, he cleared them up. Then his Patriarch swung next, doing 2 mortal wounds to my Knight Warden. And then my Knight Warden swung back with his chain sweep, and he actually, I think 4 went through, so he was actually able to kill off the Patriarch, because he has a 4-up invuln save, which is super annoying. But so he got him. He did not consolidate, but that was nice, because that made me, that was my Lay Low the Tyrant deed, so I am officially an honored Knight group, Knight Lance. And that was the fight phase. Alright, you guys. So, for this battle round, I had 5 points on the primary. I had 5 points for Overwhelming Force because I killed 2 units on an objective. And then I have 5 points for Area Denial because I actually cleared out the middle of the...
middle objective.
Yeah. So I got a total of 15 points this battle round. Then I cleared out behind enemy lines. I discarded it for a command point. And because I became honored, I gained like 4 command points this turn, which is crazy. But obviously that 3 points is a one-off that supersedes the gaining a command point thing.
Yeah, and your 2 secondaries here are done as well. Yeah.
Oh, because I completed them?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Yep, so 15 points, and a good round, I think, as a whole for tabletop, or for tactical placing and for points.
So, for the movement phase, I'm basically going to take the center, but I need to make sure he dies, but I don't think I can do 5 wounds to him with just the guys here, so I ran the hybrid metamorphs till they got onto the point, essentially so that because the Knight Gallant is near death, his OC becomes 5, not 10. And so I finagle my troops around, and I take it from him with 6 guys on the board, and they're all worth 1. The Aberrants they failed their battle shock, so they have OC of 0 and can't receive stratagems. So I move them up to basically charge. The blue squad neophytes didn't do anything. The purple squad reorganized so that their special weapons and heavy weapons are all up top. My idea is to shoot the Knight Gallant off the board, and if that fails, hopefully the Aberrants can clean up. But either way, I've taken the objective. Also, my purple squad moved in to deal with the Knight Warden. So for the shooting phase, from the pink squad, 2 grenade launchers into the Knight in the middle. Did nothing. Mining lasers. One was able to wound. I rolled a 4, or I rolled a 5 that would have killed him, but he had some feel no pains and he saved 2. Then my entire squad of neophytes fired at him. Did nothing. He saved all the saves and made feel no pains. I only had 2 webbers that were able to shoot, barely hurt him. The seismic cannons fired 24 shots because some were within rapid fire, some weren't, and he saved them all. All the rapid fire weapons saved them all, so I am screwed. Right. So for the charge phase, the pink squad or purple squad up top swung on, charged the Night Warden, made it in. They only needed a 3, they rolled a 7, and the Aberrants needed a 5. They well, actually they needed a 4, but they made it in to the Night Gallant, and that was it. Right, we did record it, but my opponent on the top right did Overwatch with his Night Gallant, and it deleted the 5-man squad of purple hybrids.
Warden.
The Warden. And so in the fight phase, I whiffed horribly. I spent a CP to re-roll 1 wound. It wounded, and my opponent saved them both. If he would have failed one, it would have died. And yeah. And then he didn't move after consolidating, after he beat them to death. And that was the fight phase. So for points, I gained 5 on primary, and I gained Storm Hostile Objective because I took the center. And I gained 5 points for that, for it being tactical. And that was my turn.
Alright, you guys, so for movement, my Night Gallant actually stayed. The objective is no longer there, but there's a squad right in front of him, and being a gallant knight, he will fight them to the death. He may die, actually, because he only has 2 wounds left, but, you know, whatever, we'll see. All the other knights have started moving forward. He can't, I don't believe he can pop up behind me, but honestly, next battle round, the other one is going away, so really the blue one is kind of the important one here. My Castellan has sticky objectives, so I'm holding this one anyway. But anyway, so they all move forward, and then my Knight Preceptor, using his once per game Deep Strike reappear thing, has shown up near the blue objective. He is within 5 inches of it. So hopefully a 9-inch charge is in the works. I've never done one successfully before, but there's a first time for everything. And so yeah, so basically my knights are starting to kind of close in his little bubble pocket things. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. Alright, you guys, so the Night Gallant shot at the orange squad right ahead of him, and he killed 2 guys, which is pretty good for him. Then the Castellan shot at the green squad. He was originally going to shoot at the blue squad, but he popped his stealth 12-inch no-shoot thing. So I shot the green squad instead, and he killed, 8 guys there, so that's not too bad. Then the Night Warden shot at the blue squad, and he actually did quite a number on them. He killed 4, 8, 12, 11 guys there. I think pushing them off the objective, not 100% sure.
No, I am on the objective.
And then the Knight Preceptor, because he couldn't shoot them because they were within 12 inches, shot at the purple squad, which has like the mining lasers and whatever, the mining tools, and he just killed them killed them all.
But don't worry, they will come back.
Well, yeah. And that was the shooting phase. Alright, you guys, so basically I charged the Night Warden into the orange guys. He didn't get in, he missed it just barely, literally by like 0.1 inches. And then the Night Gallant charged, and he overwatched with his blue squad, and they did just enough damage to kill him. And so Night Gallant went down, but he did not explode. So that was the charge phase and the fight phase.
Yes.
Alright, you guys, so for points, not a great turn for points. I end up discarding one of my tactical objectives, bring it down. Obviously, it doesn't have any vehicles left, so it's useless to me, but I got a command point. So I had 5 points on primary because I controlled the one regular one in No Man's Land, and I got 2 points actually for secure No Man's Land because I have 1. And so that was it for points. Not great. I did lose my first knight, but that might be the last one that I lose. I don't know how much more damage he actually has to actually take down knights. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So for the movement phase, I moved my hybrid monomorphs towards the Night Warden. He overwatched, wiped out almost the entire squad except the Icon. My blue squad moved up to get fully on the objective to try to block them off. My other squads moved in close as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's see what happens. And yeah, and then the icons came in, and the orange squad grew back 1 guy. My blue squad gained 5. My green squad gained 3 because they weren't on an objective. Alright, so for the shooting phase, blue squad fired its Webbers into the Night Warden and only rolled 1/6 for devastating wounds. So 1 wound went through. The heavy size mechanics fired, did nothing. That pretty much was it. All their guns fired, did nothing. Hybrid metamorphs fired with their flamers, did nothing. And that was the shooting phase. Alright, so for the charge phase, orange hybrid metamorphs charged the Night Warden, made it in. Then, out of desperation, the yellow acolytes charged the Night Warden. They needed a 10. They did not make it. And that was the charge phase. Alright, so for the fight phase, I swung with the strong attack, so 6 attacks from 2 of them. Bunch hit, no wounds. He did not have the same problem and wiped out the squad. And that was the fight phase. So for points, I did claim 5 for the battle round. So I have 4 points here because of assassination, because I did kill the guy in his turn, and 5 points for bringing it down because the vehicle was so strong. So I got 9 points for killing him the last turn, and I got the primary. My behind enemy lines was my tactical for the turn, in addition to my 2 fixed, but that's not happening now. And then we're on to the last turn of the game.
Alright, you guys, so for movement, basically, my Knight Preceptor moved on to the Omega objective. My Knight Warden moved in close to it as well. And then my Knight Castellan is making his way over as well, but he's a slow guy. So, yeah, just converging on this final fixation point to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, you guys, so for shooting, kind of a lot happened, but at the same time, almost nothing. So he pulled up 2 of his units to go back into reserves. And then, so my Knight Castellan shot at his minor guys that showed up in the back. He killed 4 out of the 5 because he rolled really bad this time around. But then the Warden and the Preceptor shot at his blue squad on the objective, taking them down to just the 2 characters. The Preceptor had a couple more guns. They were super minor, but I didn't want to risk killing them because I want the Warden and him to get into better positions. So I want them to charge. And that was the shooting phase. Alright, you guys, so my Knight Warden and my Knight Preceptor charged his 2 characters. They got in, both of them, and they are hoarding the objective like nobody's business. So they're gonna wipe off these 2 characters, I'm pretty sure. And then, yeah, we'll see what happens in the next turn. Alright, you guys, so because I guess we didn't realize what the battle round was, I did not have the objective, the main one, in time, so I didn't get the 15 victory points, which basically sealed the game there. I was able to get storm hostile objectives, so I got 5 points there. And then I got 2 points for secure no man's land because there's only 1 objective in the middle, so I only got 2 points instead of 5 points. That actually would have tied the game. And then, yeah, so we basically decided to call it here to 52 to 55.
I want to play the next turn, but yeah.
Yeah, and so that was the game.
So we're going to play out the last turn because I really want to, and it's just going to be quick. So Pink Squad did not farm me a CP, did not roll a 4-up, so I didn't get an extra one. My Green Squad of Neophytes came in due to Deep Strike because they were sent to Deep Strike last turn. My Yellow Squad, I spent 1 CP to let them Deep Strike 3 inches away from an enemy, which was the Night Warden. And then my opponent, we didn't record this, he overwatched me, and he successfully killed 2 of the Yellow Squad. He rolled very poorly. Alright, so for the shooting phase, my Yellow Acolytes threw their bombs at him, did almost nothing. They did actually 4 damage to him, which got through. Then they fired their hand flamers, did absolutely nothing. Then my Mass Squad of Green Squad fired their Webbers, did 2 mortal wounds to him. And then I fired my heavy weapons, which had 24 shots because rapid fire. And I forgot I had sustained hits on the turn I come in from Deep Strike, which I also forgot for my for my explosives. And they managed to get through. He used a CP to give him rotate ion shields, which I assume increases his invuln save. But the mass number of shots brought him down, and he finally died. And he did not explode. And that was the shooting phase. Alright, and then for the charge phase, I had my green neophytes charge the Knight Preceptor. I placed them poorly. I should have placed them like halfway so that they could have charged potentially both, getting a 9, but I didn't even roll that for a 9. So I rolled trash, spent my last CP to reroll, also got trash. And that's the game. So for the last turn, I didn't gain any primary. I was denied it. I could have gained 15 to hold in the end. But assassination, 4 points for killing that guy. Bring it down, 5 points for killing that guy. And my third ability, behind enemy lines, I had my one surviving purple squad guy in the back, gaining me 3 victory points there. So it goes to 67 to 52. Gene Stealer Colts win, despite half my opponent's army being at full health, untouched. Victory. Gene Stealer Cult victory over ridiculously impossible odds. So MVP, LVP. So this game was actually very, very strange because I was getting obliterated constantly. And so my LVPs are a bit difficult. There's those who just got slapped in the face and those who performed poorly. So it came to like getting slapped in the face. My poor Goliaths, they just got deleted without a chance. It's like, I mean, they took a bunch of points, so it was like 255 points in vehicles that were just tissue paper. One of them didn't even get to deliver, so it's like, it's really hard to say are they LVPs against this matchup, because they were just dumped on. Then we have my poor purple acolytes, who every time they got a chance to do something just got deleted, just straight off the map. Only at the very end did the one last guy on the very last thing manage to score 3 victory points for behind enemy lines, but that was chance, but they just got dunked on. Then we have those who performed very poorly. So the yellow squad was the guys, we spent a CP, get them in within 3 inches, and just dump on a target, do a ton of damage. They did a pretty good damage, but every time they came in for 1 CP, they only did 4 damage to a Night Titan. I mean, it was very important 4 damage, which led to their inevitable deaths, because it was just barely killing them, but my goodness. They underperformed, essentially. Then we have the Aberrants. Actually, I would put... these guys had the greatest opportunity, but they just rolled poorly. It's terrible. Then we have the Patriarch, who... I probably overestimated the hybrid metamorphs. I prioritized them over the Gene Stealers, but these guys probably should have done better because they'd have devastating wounds. They probably would have done far more damage, so they just got slapped around, and he survived well. But honestly, the true LVP is going to have to be the Abominant. He was such an LVP that I deleted him after he died for good. He could have come back, he failed that. He had 2 opportunities to swing, he missed every single attack, and failed to wound on a 4-up on the one chance he had a shot. And so the Aberrant that I deleted is my LVP. As far as MVP, it's going to have to be the combo of the Acolyte Icon Award and the Nexos. So no individual did anything. It was just the most desperate of battles. The Icon Award gave my guys a 5-up Feel No Pain and turned them into a massive tar pit, despite my opponent's massive shooting, which allowed them to survive long enough for the Icons to bring back huge chunks of them. I was getting a minimum of 4 back every single command phase. Then we have the Nexos, who gave me a lot of abilities for free. You can target his unit for stratagem for free once per turn. And of course, the one that had the inscrutable cunning, which was the infiltrators and stuff, really helped. Is essentially this unit, this combo, really helped me survive. Essentially, that's it. These are the 2 that contributed the most. So LVP is this combo, not the individual units. And that's for me, MVP, LVP. So what about you?
Yeah. So for me, it is a little difficult. LVP is probably the Preceptor. Honestly, all my Knights did pretty well, but I think the Preceptor did the least.
I did my best to make sure that was the case.
Huh?
I did my best to make sure that was the case.
Well, I mean, I had him in deep strike, and so he kind of hung around the fringes the most. I mean, he moved around the board quite a bit, so that was good. But he ended up just doing the least. So, like the Castellan, he killed off both of your vehicles ridiculously easy. And he did a decent chunk of shooting, but when it came to actual units, his damage was more inconsistent. So
he deleted 2 of my trucks off the map in an instant. What are you talking about?
After the 2 trucks. After the 2 trucks. Like, when he was shooting at just regular troops, it was kind of all over the place what he did.
He deleted aberrants repeatedly.
Vehicles, though.
So it's like...
Yeah. The Warden and the Gallant probably did the most consistent damage.
Yes.
The Warden lasted a little bit longer, but the Gallant, honestly, like, he chunked through like 5 or 6 squads, I think.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. The Warden also did quite a bit of damage. Maybe the Gallant as an MVP, he has a lot of attacks, which was pretty surprising. Mm-hmm. And that coupled with the unyielding Paragon, so he had a -1 AP. And what I didn't realize is he had -1 to hit him in combat. So he actually probably would have lived longer.
I don't know how that would work in reality.
Yeah. But, so probably the Gallant as an MVP. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Alright then. Alright, as far as the armies, Genestealer cults. It's really hard for me to gauge where they're at because every time I've played them, it's been against Knights. So, Aberrants would have counted the Knights the most, but I only had a small unit instead of a 10-man. If I had a 10-man, it actually would have been a bigger deal and a bigger impact in the game, but I really wanted to try the hybrid metamorphs because I could stack a lot of buffs on them, a Primus, and the lethal hits from the Biophagus and stuff like that, and they had hand flamers and stuff, so they were a very strong unit, and I wanted to use them, but like I know against Knights they wouldn't do that well, but I was really hoping they would. It was really the Genestealers who could have done better, but played that poorly in decision making. I could have used my stealth ability on them and stop you from shooting them. That's basically what I'm saying. My guys, it's really hard to say. I've only seen them through the lens of facing off against Knights. I really am curious to see how they would do against other armies, but it was just me using every single trick in the book, using CP to constantly trash you, thrash you, try to avoid you, move around you. The infinite troops was really useful. It really helped a lot.
Shocking.
Yeah. Even though they were just like doing nothing against you. The Webbers, probably the best weapon I had against you, but a chance weapon. Yeah, this game, as far as the Genestealer cults go, I like their playstyle, being so flexible and stuff, and being able to do a lot of cool things. But it was really hard against this army. So overall, I did the best I could. I played the objective and stalled as much as possible. Yeah, and that's what I gotta say. What about you?
Yeah, so I like Knights. I was surprised this time, and it might be just because Genestealer cults are very squishy, so I basically needed 3s and 2s the entire game. So that could be part of it. But, I don't know, I liked having more of the bigger guys. I thought that was actually more fun than having one with a bunch of the little guys. I actually don't care much for little guys.
One thing I do know they're used a lot in tournaments, but one thing I do know is that the small guys have a lot less shooting. Like, their shooting is very strong, but it's more like anti-Space Marine. These guys shooting is more anti-horde and stuff, and so like it countered me. If you would have gone with a bunch of small guys, I probably would have done a lot better, killed a lot more. You would have been stuck in bigger tar pits. They
also have lower toughness. I think they're like toughness 6 or something,
or 7 maybe. Yeah, but essentially, like you wouldn't have been able to output the same amount of damage if you went with the small guys.
Probably not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I actually liked having the big guys, and I liked. I don't know. I wasn't quite sure what to expect with it, but the high toughness, the saves, the tremendous damage output, I think they actually did pretty well for themselves. I I think there's a few tactical things that I think there's a couple things I did well, which was at first avoid combat and shoot down some of the more problematic units. But the tactical objectives did not do me any favors. So because they kept rotating, but then I couldn't do anything with them. So I was probably better off with fixed ones for knights, if I had to say, because again, with so few units, there's only so much you can do. So you probably just want to take, like, I should have just taken like assassination and I don't know, whatever, something else. I don't know what it would have been. Maybe no prisoners or something. If that's even
no prisoners is not a fixed. So there's assassination's the only one that's fixed. So out of those two.
Okay. Well then that. But yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like them. I think I would try something other than the Preceptor. I might try maybe another more shooty guy, or maybe the other, not the Castellan, but the other one. I can't remember what it's called. Paladin, maybe. But yeah, no, I like Knights. I think I actually like the bigger guys way more than the little guys, but I understand the little guys have some tactical flexibility in just having more than 3 or 4 units.
I mean, if you got rid of one of these guys, or got rid of the Preceptor and replaced him with like 2 or 3 of them, it might have been better for you tactically, point-wise, in the game.
Yeah. But, you know.
Yeah, but overall, yeah. So as far as the game, this was a very interesting mission. The removal and stuff, you really had to see it coming and stuff like that. Really hard fighting. We generated these objectives randomly, which ones were going to be alpha, omega, and stuff like that by dice rolls. As far as the mission goes, it was a very interesting one. It somewhat benefited me a little bit because I just had to really focus on the end game. And since I mean, we could gain 15 points per turn, but that was just not going to happen. I like the mission. I like the game, but man, it was a tough matchup of me being desperately using all the tricks. What about you for the game?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. It was problematic in the sense that even though I had map control and I had, essentially wiped out your army at least 2 times over, maybe 3 times over. In the end, like that, having the key, and I guess because we knew ahead of time, like I could have changed my focus a little bit, but I don't know if that would have played out the same for me. So it was a harder mission for me just because of how few units I had. But had it gone on one more turn, or maybe I've been aware, I was like, oh, this is actually because that's the hard part about going first. You get to do more damage, but then you have to control what you need in the 4th turn and not the 5th turn, which is always fun to remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a good mission. It's weird to have one where the home objective counts for nothing.
Yeah, it's hard to get around that. I kept my home objective simply as a CP farm.
Yeah, so, I mean, but no, it was good. It led to an interesting game, a lot of movement, and a lot of our pieces kind of rotating around the board.
Yeah, but one thing I will say is we really have to read and reread the objectives and stuff to fully understand it, because we kept getting blindsided. I thought that the red objective would have been there still in the 4th, and it was the one that wasn't labeled that would stay, but no. Well.
Yeah.
Alrighty then, so GG's, and we'll see you next time. Bye.